I just spent the weekend down here at Myron Mixon's BBQ Cooking School in Unadilla, Georgia, literally 26 minutes away from my house. I had no idea that the winningest man in all of barbecue lives so close to me. And how I found out about him, I was actually at a downtown Perry, Georgia event, and his sliders were the actual food that you got for free. Well, I think I spent like 50 bucks on a ticket, so free. But I tried those sliders and I immediately looked them up online, and it really broke my heart because I'm the type of guy that's been cooking barbecue for quite some time, but whether it's Boston butt or brisket or ribs or whatever it might be, I'm just scrolling YouTube. I'm looking up, okay, how do I cook a Boston butt? Maybe I'm watching a short in like 60 seconds. Man, I know how to cook.
You're not a chef. Stop pretending to be one.
And I'll cook for the family, and sometimes it turns out good. Other times, plain out sucks. And I did not realize until this weekend, after going through his cooking school, that literally everything that I was doing was wrong. From the binders of how do I apply the rub, to injections, to the heat, how I prepare the meat, how you actually cook the meat. Every single thing I was doing was wrong. Now, I understand there's people out there that, oh, I know how to do everything. But after you learn from the #1 person in the world how to do something, it's awesome. In this video, I actually want to explain a little bit about his cooking school. Unfortunately, you're not allowed to have videos, but I took some pictures, and I really want to give you the insider's information on this cooking school and whether or not you should attend if you're looking to be able to cook for friends, family members, catering, restaurants, you name it. This is going to be the video that's going to help you make that decision. And if you don't know who Myron Mixon is, 5-time world champ. I don't know if you can comprehend that. Do you know how many people are literally living in the world? There's billions of people. And out of all those people, those that compete in barbecue, if you're gonna have the confidence to go and spend thousands of dollars on meat, get a rig, get an RV, and travel the country to be able to compete in not only the country, but then actually go out and compete worldwide and be the #1 person 5 times, that's insane. That's literally insane. He also has won over 200 grand championships, and he has over 1,800 trophies. 1,800 trophies. Where do you even put all those trophies at? But he's also known as the most winningest person in all of barbecue, and he literally lives 26 minutes away. It's absolutely insane.
I can't believe this is happening.
And this past weekend, I actually spent time at his compound. It was Friday night, all day Saturday, and then it was Sunday for the majority of the day. And real quick, before we really dive into this, one thing that really stood out to me about Myron was the fact that he was grown up in barbecue. His dad was actually a barbecue pitmaster, one of those real barbecue pitmasters, not somebody that just freaking throws meat on pellet grills, right? That is pretty modern today, and I'm not knocking pellet grills because they really save me a lot of time. And it's really easy, okay? But a man that dedicated his life to the craft, and Myron grew up in that. But not only did he grow up in that, for 15 years in a row, he spent 45 to 46 times a year cooking barbecue in competitions. I don't know if you can comprehend that. 45 to 46 competitions a year every year for 15 years in a row. That's Michael Phelps level. That's Michael Jordan level of his craft. It's really hard to be able to come across these case studies or these types of people that have dedicated so much time, so much effort, and so much just sheer willingness to win so much that it becomes relentless. Okay, he reminded me of this book called Relentless by Tim Grover. He was the coach of Michael Jordan, of Kobe Bryant, of Dwayne Wade. And it's really unique coming across this level of men in the world because it's so far and few in between, and especially in a specific craft. He is the best in the world at barbecue, and it was so cool being able to actually be there, but be in the presence of a man that has won so much in his life, yet taught as if I was in kindergarten. Let's dive into that. That was the thing that blew my mind the most. I counted about 47, 48 people that were actually a part of the class. Myself, my brother-in-law, and then one guy from Valdosta. If you don't know where Valdosta is, it's southern Georgia. Those were the only people that I actually met that lived in Georgia. I met people who lived in Tennessee, people that lived in North Carolina, quite a few people from Texas, quite a few people from California, knew people that flew out here from Oregon. Also at my table was a guy that lives in Ecuador. Okay, he had to literally fly to Panama and then fly to Atlanta, get a rental car, and drive the hour and 50 minutes down to spend a weekend to learn how to cook barbecue. And these people here, they're not just normal everyday people like me that just want to cook for friends and family and actually eat food that doesn't suck, right? We had competition level individuals there, people that own restaurants, people that own catering companies, all coming together to learn how to sling some barbecue. And it was freaking awesome. And the thing that really got me was the fact that he taught as if we've never cooked before. The first thing when I heard that he's done 45, 46 competitions a year every year for 15 years is that he's just going to go through the motion because he's literally cooked the exact same piece of meat that is in front of him probably thousands of times. And I'm sitting there with a notebook. I don't have my notebook with me, but I've took like 9, 10 pages front and back. So like front side of paper, like 20 pages of notes. Plus he had printouts of every piece of the recipe, injections, rubs, all that kind of stuff. And I'm just there ready to take notes. It was so slow and controlled that it made me, somebody that sucks at cooking, actually learn how to cook literally in like 2.5 days. And he broke it down so simply on how to prep the food, how to trim the food, why to trim that way, the injections, like what actually goes into the injection, why inject, how to inject, and then what to do after you actually inject that meat based off of time. Do I have to put it on the smoker right now, vacuum seal it, put it in the fridge? How long after the fridge do I take it out before I put it on the grill? But before you put it on the grill, you have to put the rub on. And he puts rubs on in a way that really blew my mind. That's how crazy this was. You wouldn't think too much about freaking putting some seasoning on some meat. But from the way that he uses, like before, I used to use mustard, okay? Before with the rubs. It just changes the texture, it changes the taste, but he uses clear vegetable oil, and then the way that he spreads the seasonings on, the types of seasonings based off the literal types of meats. Are we putting certain seasonings on? Are we leaving certain ones off? Are we doing a nice little bit of seasoning and then a heavy coat and then topping it off with some secret salt that he has that you can buy on his website? It's not rubbing, okay? You're not rubbing that stuff on. You're pressing the seasoning into the meat. And then we're going over cooking temperatures. We're going on when to spritz, how to spritz, when not to spritz. All these freaking YouTubers that I've watched before ruining my meat, and how to know when your meat's done, okay? And then when the meat's done, how to actually store the meat the right way so when people come over, it's not cold. Literally, when we took our Boston butts, just say for example, off the smoker, and by we, his team was the one that was cooking the meats overnight and all that kind of stuff. They got up at 3 a.m., they cooked this meat, they took it off, and it was about 2.5 hours before he took it off and was showing how to actually competition style take the money muscle off of the Boston butt, the tubes, the horn. I didn't even know that there was different freaking parts of a Boston butt, okay, for competition style to be able to take it apart. When he stuck that piece of meat with a thermometer, it was still at 178 degrees, and that sucker was off the grill for 2.5 hours. I'm literally pulling this sucker off the grill as people are coming into my house so I can serve them. I'm freaking out because I got sides going on, I got all this other stuff. Yet a simple tip and something I could have bought at a local hardware store for like $10 would have saved all that time. Yet a simple tip and something I could have bought at a local hardware store for like $10 would have saved all that time. And then something else that was really cool, he showed how to actually plate food based on competition. I know that there's people watching this video that probably aren't doing barbecue cooking competitions, but what about the brownie points for the spouse when you're cooking meat? It comes out beautiful on the plate. You're welcome. The thing is, there was no pressure, nothing was rushed. When you are learning from this caliber of individual on how to do something, whether it's Ronald Acuna teaching you how to swing a baseball bat, you know, freaking Michael Phelps teaching you how to do a butterfly, like it doesn't matter what you've done before, because what you've done before, the normal everyday person, sucks in comparison. Just throwing that out there. So I suck at cooking. But even though I showed up knowing nothing, I walked away feeling like I can go to a competition right now. And I actually wrote down some notes of all the things that I was doing wrong. And the very first one was the binder. I thought it was just glue. I thought that you just put seasoning on it. And it actually turns out that it affects the flavor and it actually affects the texture of the meat. And then we went over to the actual rubs. I was overworking the meat, wrong pressure, wrong timing, putting it in the fridge before putting it on. So I was literally putting the rubs on, saran wrapping my meat, putting it in the fridge, then taking it off, letting it cool, letting it sweat a little bit, then putting it on. And when you do it that way, the rub will actually stack together and it doesn't put an even flow or an even seasoning on the meat. So when you get the bite, it's gonna be off. And then trimming, I literally trimmed for looks, okay? The fat cap, like cutting that stuff off. Let's just take a Boston butt, for example. I didn't realize that when you can see the grains on the side of a Boston butt, that's called the money muscle. And we're cutting off the fat cap on that side, trimming it down about 3 inches in to expose that money muscle, cutting it down the side to expose it even more for an even cook. And that when you put that on, we're pretty much leaving everything alone on the Boston butt, except for cutting in around the horn, taking the membrane out. And then once that hits a specific specific internal temp, you're then cutting it off, taking it off, rewrapping. 45 minutes later, you're gonna hit that 205 temp again. So now you have 2 perfect cooks on the meat instead of just being lazy and mixing it all up. You got your money muscle, then you can pull the horn out, trim that up and cut it, and then you have 4 tubes inside of a Boston butt, right? And it all started from the trim. And every meat is trimmed a different way, from chicken legs to chicken thighs, to your briskets, to your Boston butts, to how you trim a whole hog, beef tips, tri-tips, lamb. Okay, every single thing has a specific way of doing it. If you want even cooks, if you want to be able to put the rubs on the right way, injections, spritzing, the whole 9 yards, it all comes down to the trim. But going off that, another thing that I was doing wrong, I spritzed because it felt productive. I spritzed because YouTube told me, oh, every 30 minutes you want to go and just drown the meat with an applesauce mix, not applesauce, apple juice mix, all that kind of stuff. I was just doing it wrong. This is the biggest thing that I really learned, injecting. He has the most delicious injecting recipes ever. Learning how to inject, learning how to make the injections, actually injecting these meats brought out so much flavor I have never experienced in any bite of barbecue I've ever had in my entire life, because most people say, oh, marinate, or oh, let it sit overnight. Oh, dude. That's some secret sauce right there. And then the last one that I have on here is pooling and resting. I pulled based off of time, not based off of internal temps, although you stick a meat thermometer in there and then you have an internal temp. It's just a completely different game, because once you take it out, what are you doing? I was putting it in an ice chest, which there's nothing wrong with that, but the way that they do things just changed how the meat was, because as soon as you pull, depending on the type of meat, turkey dries out like that, chicken dries out like that. You start opening stuff up and you plate it or you slice and you do it a certain way and you're having it for presentation, but you don't understand moisture content, because if you don't have moisture inside your barbecue, it's gonna suck. They know how to keep moisture, so it doesn't suck. All humbling completely, but it was 100% freeing, because now, literally after 2.5 days, I feel so confident. This isn't just because Myron is super cool and he has TV shows, which you absolutely should check out. Those are some of the funniest shows I've ever seen in my entire life. BBQ Pitmasters, check it out on Netflix. Discovery Plus. You know what? I think I'm watching it on Discovery Plus right now. I'll verify that. But the atmosphere of his team, the atmosphere of the people there, it was just a great time. Awesome vibes. Myron, hilarious. Just a funny dude to be. You know, some people like tell jokes and they try to like act a certain way, and you just feel like it's just cringe.
This is the worst.
Nah, he's a homie. Hilarious dude. And his team, just top notch. His son there, Michael, awesome. Just high energy, knows what he's doing. Just a friendly environment. They were very appreciative of everybody being there, just as much as we were appreciative of everything that they were doing. And another thing was, as soon as I showed up, we got there a little early. The email said, please don't show up early. So we're just kind of sitting out in the parking area. And immediately people come up and shake my hand, introducing themselves. Hey, I'm so-and-so from Maine. Hey, I'm Tom from North Carolina. Hey, I'm so-and-so from Washington. Hey, I'm actually from Central Texas. Immediately you hit it off with all these different individuals. Every single person there was so friendly. They were kind. They were fun to be around. And it didn't feel stuck up. It didn't feel like people were snoods, you know, like some wine snobs, you know, when they're just all fancy with everything. I'm not saying that's to each their own.
I mean, whatever, I guess.
It's just a really fun environment where everybody helped everybody. There's no guarded information. There was no egos. People actually helped, because when we prepped the meat, we had little stations and we had all the meat in front of us. For example, I sat next to a guy named Alex. Alex is absolutely awesome. He actually has a catering company out in California, and he does do barbecue cooking competitions all over the United States. He was helping me prep the meat as Myron taught, because he has a lot more experience than I do, and he actually showed me step by step exactly what to do based off of how Myron taught. So we actually got, or at least me personally, I got extra time with the meat, and it just was really helpful. People were really cool. At the end of the day, we're just learning how to prep, how to cook good food with good people. And I really wish I would have been able to get this on video, but I literally went around to almost every single person in the class and I just asked them, like, hey, how was the class? How did you enjoy it? Did you learn anything? And every single person lit up with a smile and was like, oh my goodness gracious, this was one of the best, if not the best cooking schools I've ever been to. I was talking to an older couple who's now in their 70s, and they just travel to the United States because they're retired. and they just love cooking. And they live in North Carolina, but they are coming down through Georgia just as a little family vacation, just to learn how to cook more. And they, being on the road, even learned a lot that they're going to be able to do when they get Airbnbs and cook out versus some individuals. For example, the guy from Ecuador that I sat down next to, I feel so bad I forgot his name. If you're watching this video, I'm sorry, homie. Comment below. But he is going to go home and immediately cook a whole hog. And the confidence that these individuals have after this was just absolutely amazing. You know I'm real. I never talk nothing up unless I like it. And I have a lot of bad reviews that people hate me for. Suck less and you get better reviews. What about that?
Did I stutter?
Just genuinely, every single person I came across just learned so much. And I just don't have enough good things to say about this. So before this class, I was guessing, I was hoping, I'm copying YouTube techniques. They're all not working. I'm cooking one Boston butt. It tastes completely different from another. I'm trying to cook ribs. One time, I can't even make this up. I was over at M&T Meats. I ordered baby back ribs. M&T Meats, best meat store here in Middle Georgia. Hands down, go there. Amazing. I ordered baby back ribs that are pre-marinated. I cut the bag open. I take the ribs. I put them on my smoker. And I'm trying to figure out why the heck are these ribs so freaking thick? You know, I do everything, I pull them. Guess what I did? They were 2 slabs of baby back sitting on top of each other, and I cooked the 2 freaking baby back. That is literally the level of barbecuer that I am, okay? Not anymore, because after this class, I know why I'm doing every step. I can cook every single protein that we covered with confidence, and I understand the process end to end. It wasn't just the recipes, it was the art of how to cook good meat. And to end this video, just to be very clear, this is not a sponsored video. This was the very first time that I ever met Myron in person. I paid for this out of pocket myself, and I would go back in a heartbeat. And I actually am going to, because he has a secondary class on his website. I believe it is called, it's called the Barbecue Memories class. And on this class, you're cooking open pit. Now, am I going to be cooking open pit all the time? No, but it's an art form that's lost. Not a lot of people are cooking open pit, mopping, you know, doing whole hog over an open flame, flattening the hog out and all that good stuff. And that's something I want to give a try. I think this can be awesome. So I'm going to link everything to Myron down in the description below. Again, I don't have enough good things to say about this cooking school. Just an awesome experience. I left away massively confident. My wife's going to be really happy. My family's going to be really happy. Friends, I'm going to cook for my church. We're literally already planning a barbecue cookout for the cul-de-sac with the neighbors that I have and everything else in between. Because if you know anything about life, getting together for a good meal brings people together. Thanks for watching this YouTube video. If you'd like to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you on the next one.